Everybody, welcome to another C tutorial. I haven't done one of these in a long time, but I figured I would do another one on how to write and read to files, which is something you may want to do commonly in C, especially if you want to just, take in some input or write out some output to a file so it's in a more permanent way than just writing it to the console. So without further ado, let's get started. So right now I just have a main function, and I just need to import the standard input output library or header file in the C with this include statement up here, the first line you see right there. And so the first thing that I'm going to do in the C video is I'm going to make a file pointer. Now a file pointer is defined as a certain size within the standard io.h file, and so you can simply just use it, and it's aliased inside that io file, so you don't have to worry about it. But it's file with all uppercase, and then you give it a pointer, so give it a star, and now you can do file. And so I'm going to start out with writing, because writing is usually a little bit easier than reading, and in this case it is too. So I'm going to have a file pointer, and so I need to tell this file pointer to point to a file. So the way I do that is I want to call fopen, and fopen returns it takes two parameters. It takes the name of the file, and it takes the conditions of what you're going to do with the file. So are you only going to be able to read from the file, write from the file, or do both? So simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to do fopen, and now I'm going to give it the name of a file. So I'm going to name it example.txt. Now, since in this example I just want to point out that I had already made that file. So what I did is I just deleted example.txt. What I'm going to point out here is that example.txt does not exist. Since I'm going to write this file, these are all my files here. Example file does not exist. It's not here at all. It's not something that I haven't invented yet. So when I write to this file, it's going to recognize that example.txt does not exist yet. It's going to create that file, and everything will be okay. So it's okay if I write to a file that doesn't exist yet. That is perfectly okay. So now I'm going to give it conditions. I'm going to give it the command to write. And so simply the second parameter, you want to pass it W for write and R for read. Okay? So I'm going to give it W. And it needs to be in a string format, so put double quotes around it. So there you go. I give it example.txt. And now all I want to do is instead of printf, I'm going to do fprintf. And printf stands for print formatted, and fprintf stands for file print formatted. So I'm going to do fprintf, and it takes in two parameters, as you see here. It takes in my file pointer, which is the stream I'm going to do. So I'm going to give it my file pointer that I created up there, and now I'm going to give it the template, now it works just like the printf statement. So I'm going to give it, how do I want the output to come? I'm just want a %s, and then in this concept, I'm going to YOLO, I love kittens. I'm going to give it a string to print out. So as you can see here, I'm saying print out a string, and then I give it in the second parameter its string. I could give it multiple parameters, and essentially everything from here to the right works just like a printf statement. It actually works exactly like a printf statement. The only thing that I'm adding on is the pointer to the file, so it knows which file I'm writing to. So there you go. And then at the end, good practice is always to close the file. So simply to use that, I use file close. So it stands for, so I need to close the file, and this is just good practice to say, hey, I'm done using this file, so I'm going to close it, so the input stream, or the stream that I've created that is allowing me to write the file, isn't always open, and that could take up memory in my program and cause memory leaks. So I want to make sure to properly close the file. So simply I do an fclose, and when I do my fclose, I want to give it the file pointer that I was writing to, and this will close the stream for me, okay? And so without further ado, what this program should do is, I'm going to put that down, that's my example code, and what it should do is it should create a file pointer, create this document. If it does not exist, I'm going to set it to write property, so I can only write to this document. I can't even read from it. And write means, to edit the document. And then I'm going to write to this document, YOLO, I love kittens. And then I'm going to close it. So sounds pretty good, right? So I'm going to do that. And so I'm going to do that. I press play. I should know that. You can't see any noticeable change here, but I'm going to show you guys one thing here. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I am going to just show you guys perfectly again. You see, these are my files. I'm going to run this by clicking the play button here. And now I'm going to refresh. And when I refresh here, you see this example.txt got created for me like I did right here. And if I open this, I get YOLO I love kittens. So I was able to create that file because it hadn't been created for me and then do that. So that's pretty cool. So another thing I wanted to show is that, for instance, something I could also do is that I could, if I wanted to add multiple lines per se, if I did a /n and I did LOL, for instance, and then I ran this file again, that again I would get, now I got YOLO I love kittens, and then I have a space and I have LOL. So I was able to write across multiple lines using the same new line character that I would use for simply in a printf. So it works the same way. So that works exactly like that. And I just want to show, for instance, let's say I copied this fprintf. So let's say I did a loop and I wanted to print out, numbers or something of that type, and I had multiple fprintfs. And so I'm printing out YOLO I love kittens at the same time. And let me put /ns right here just so new lines always get printed out. And let's say I run this file again by pressing the play button. And now I have YOLO I love kittens, LOL, and then a new line and YOLO I love kittens. So one thing I just want to point out is if I took off this new line here and played it, I would kind of get some jumbled up text. So I have YOLO I love kittens, and I have and then I have YOLO I have kittens again. So the pointer, when I wrote to it again, the pointer started writing exactly where it left off, which is after I wrote the L last time. So make sure that you're thinking about where you want, maybe every string you print, you write to document should have a new line character, so you start on a new line. Or maybe it shouldn't if you want it to be on the same line, or you think about the spacing and other things of that type. So that's something very important to think of, is just when you're having your new lines and how you could continuously print to a document. So that's writing, and now we'll get on to reading. So now for reading, what we're going to do here is that I'm going to open example.txt, but instead I'm going to give it R for reading, which is pretty cool. And so now since I just have the R parameter, I can only read from this document. And that means I can't use my fprintfs. I can't write to the file anymore. Also, I wanted to point out, when you're reading from something, the file must exist, because you can't read from a file that doesn't exist. So if you're writing, the file will get created for you. But if you're reading, it doesn't make sense to read from a file that doesn't exist, so you want to make sure that file does exist. In this case, example.txt does exist because I created it when I was writing to it. So there you go. So now what I want to do here is, again, I still want to close it. You want to close everything that you open with fopen. I'm going to close it. And now what I'm going to do is, to be able to write it, I need to store the string or whatever I'm getting in from inside a char array, or the equivalent of a string, which in C is handled with char arrays. So I'm going to make a char, and I'm going to call it line, because it's going to be each line of character. And I'm going to give it a very big size. And the reason because I'm going to give it a big size is I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to assume every line is going to be at least less than 1,000 characters long. And that's okay. In C, you have to make an assumption like that, because I could simply say to any programmer that they're going to have a file, each line must be, can only be 200 characters. And that's perfectly okay. 1,000 characters for each line would be huge. You'd be scrolling to the left and right. So you probably wouldn't want that to be anyway. But I'm just choosing a bigger size. You could choose any size you wanted, as long as it's pretty good. 10 is not good, but 100 may do you well. So I'm going to make a char array of 1,000. And so that's where my reading of each line is going to get stored. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a while loop to print out each line of my code. I'm going to print out each line to be able to display to the user in the console. So to do this, I'm going to use a while loop, and I'm going to, as long as the while loop returns true, I want to keep on reading the file. So to do this, I'm going to use another method from the standard input library, the standard input output library called fgets. And what fgets takes is it takes my char array, and it takes the size of it, so the size of how many characters I want to write to, and I'm just going to do the size of line, which I either could type in 1,000, in this case, because chars are 1 byte, so size of takes how many bytes it takes up times how many elements you're using. So the size of line in this case is 1,000 because a character is 1 byte. If it was integers, it would be 4 times 1,000 because integers are all 4 bytes. So I give it the line, I give it the size of the line, and then I'm going to give it my file pointer, the pointer to my file. So that's because I need to be able to know where I'm getting. Okay. So what fgets does is that it's going to be return true. It's going to return the size of what I'm getting every single time. And so remember in C, the while loop will keep on executing no matter what number gets printed out, as long as it's not 0, because any Boolean that is anything but 0 is considered true. So 1 is true, 2 is true, -5 is true, and 2 billion is true. But 0 is false. So fgets will still keep on running. And so just to show you that I am getting the lines out, I am going to print the line out. So I'm going to do %s, and I'm going to print out whatever's in the char array. So that should work. And then I still remember to close everything, and then hopefully if I build this, everything works. And so when I ran the program, which I just did, I get YOLO I love kittens, YOLO I love kittens, and then lol, which matches my text exactly. So let me just change this checks just to show you and say, hi, my name is Slim. And I'm going to save that text document. Now I'm going to run it again, and hopefully nothing changes. So I get YOLO I love kittens, and then lol, hi, my name is Slim, I love kittens. So now, now I have the strings, each line continuously, I have it looped through in this char array. So now I have, basically the string format stored in this char array inside my line array. And so now if I wanted to maybe use a string compare function or other string functions to see, what's in this function, or search through it, or maybe just look through it, or print out only a certain number of characters, that would be totally okay. So that's input and output in C. It's not the funnest thing to do. I know some programming languages makes it a lot easier, like for instance C++, I know. But that's clearly an easy way to do it, and it's not that hard. Just remember to close it. You got to open the file, and you have to give it your R or W for reading and writing. One final note I want to add, guys, is that simply if you wanted to append and update the instructions, you wouldn't use anything like RW. You would do something like A+. A+, it stands for you can update and you can input and output everything, and that's just the way to decide to do it. And basically that allows you to use the input and output to read and write from a file. But note that your file pointer that you're getting back is at the end of the file, so you may have to start from the beginning. And the way you would do that is with a method called fseek, which allows you to, let me see if it shows up here, fseek, which allows you to go and it takes in the file pointer. It takes in, and then it takes off the offset of where you want to go. So for instance, 0. The next parameter is the offset, so you may want to give it 9. And then the second parameter is where you want to start from that offset. So for instance, let me see if it's here. So there are 3 constants you can use, which the libraries will find, which is where the seek is. So you can either start at the seek current, the seek end, or the seek set. And usually you want to do seek set, and seek set is the beginning of the file. I know they have seek end, but seek set is the beginning of the file. So for instance, I could just do an fseek, and this would set me to the 9th character in the file, which is pretty cool. So as you can see, you could do this A+ to be able to input and output, or you can also combine them and do R and W and things of that nature. So that's pretty cool, and I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment or subscribe and do whatever you want. Have a great holiday, everyone.